And we are live. Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is a new day. There are so many news, and I am so excited. I'm launching a new show, a new live stream podcast, and I think I'm going to call it the Another Brilliant Idea Show. That is my company name. And I just love interviewing brilliant people who have brilliant ideas about brilliant topics for brilliant people. And that's all the people who ever watch my show. So, and it's only the people I interview. And today is no exception. I have this beautiful girl that I met recently at a conference, but we're so aligned that I feel like I've known her forever. And we're going to be talking about Italy. We're going to be talking about a Christian mindset. We're going to be talking about, oh my gosh, so many things about your business, about her brilliant ideas. And I can't wait to get into it. So I don't even have her, because today is a hot mess. I don't even have her bio, so I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell everybody who she is. And again, I sat next to her at this the social media marketing world, and I was just taken by her genuine authenticity. I know that sounds like a buzzword, but she has just come. She has just glows the love of Jesus, and I just love that about her. So I am going to bring her on, and we're just going to get into this thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Alicia Michelle, the Christian Mindset Coach.
Hello, welcome. I am honored that I get to be the first person on this brand new show, Mary. What a treat.
I know, so exciting, right? And people have been telling me, like, you should do something like that. And I've had podcasts on and off for years and live streams. And so thank you for being my inaugural guest.
Glad to do it. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I normally would give you this glowing review. And again, like I said, I'm just a hot mess today. So at least tell us a little bit more about you, Alicia, like how you got started. I mean, first tell us what your business does and how you bless others. But like how you got started, I'm really interested.
Sure. Well, it's great to meet everyone. I'm Alicia Michelle. I am a Christian mindset coach. I am ICF certified, and I'm also a neuro coach. So that means that I work with brain science and the Bible together to help. I work with women, specifically Christian women, to help them understand what are those, what I like to call soundtracks. What are those things stuck in your mind that keep you from believing the truth of God? Things like, I am not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not loved. Even though if you've heard that 1,000 times in church, it's like, why can't we just absorb it? Well, chances are there's some sort of programming that's in our minds. And so I love to work with women to figure out, what is that? How did it get there? And what does God need to do to help you heal it? So I do that through one-on-one coaching. I do that through a course that I have called the Christian Mindset Makeover. And I also share about that on my podcast, which is called The Christian Mindset Coach. Just on a personal note, I am married. I live in Southern California. I have 4 children ranging in age from 21 to 12.
Oh my gosh.
And what else? I've been married for 24 years. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's really interesting that you bring in fact, we have a listener. My beautiful sister, Di, is listening to us. I love it, Di. And she's
Hey,
an amazing
Di.
well.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so excited that you're listening. What a perfect show to listen to, Di. Um, but I want this to be interactive. So I didn't say that up front, is that if you guys have questions for Alicia, or you have some insights, or maybe wow. In fact, I was invited to be on a podcast called Wow, Your Wow God Story. And so if anybody
Mm.
has a wow God story, I think that would be amazing. But what you said, I love it. When we met, I think that's what really got my mind thinking, is that we were both working on a book at the time. Mine just came out. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. The book that I have been spamming Facebook and all the social, all the interwebs with, is my Hello, God, It's Me, Martha. And what's interesting is, oh wow, look, it changes the light.
Ooh, yes. It's like,
Um, but what's interesting is, like what you just said, like it's programmed into us to think, and maybe I would love to ask you these questions. So the premise of my book, which if you've never seen this before, it's based on the story of Mary and Martha, and it's basically that I was named Mary, but according to the Bible, I'm really a Martha. But I think all type A women business owners are Marthas, because
yeah.
you have to be a Martha to get stuff done, right?
Yes.
You can't just sit around at the feet of Jesus all day. There has to be a balance there. But my husband actually pointed out something that I didn't even think about after he read the book, which was lovely. Since I wrote it for women, it was lovely that he read it. And he said, what's interesting is most likely Mary and Martha were both Martha types. They were always in the
Mm,
kitchen cooking because that's in those days. That's what women did, right? Cooked, cleaned, and served our men. And it was probably this one time that Jesus came to visit. They were all friends.
mm,
And Mary made the right decision to say, wait a minute,
yeah.
Jesus might not be around forever. I'm going to take this moment to pause, sit at
Mm,
his feet, and learn from him,
yeah.
get joy from him, rest in him. And Mary was in or Martha was in the kitchen saying, hey, dude, tell her to get her butt back in the kitchen and we need help. We're putting on a party here. And he's like, no, she chose the better part.
Yeah.
Right. And so he was probably, yeah, she was all sassy because Mary was, I mean, she's used to having Mary around. Right. Anyways, I'm rambling. But the whole point of this journal is that it's helping women go from overwhelmed, like a Martha,
Mm,
to an overjoyed, like a Mary. And it's
mm,
basically like a journal with like, doodles and
yeah, it's great.
gratitude journals. Anyways, I want to hear more about yours. I'm rambling about mine. But I love that you're now taking the brain science
Mm,
and applying it to the Bible. So tell me a little bit more about that. I love it.
mm. Yes, I think there is this really interesting disservice, perhaps is a good word, that we are doing in the church right now. And that is we're not living in that middle ground where the science and the Bible can coexist, so to speak. There is there are a whole bunch of people who will talk about science and brain science, and it gets kind of woo and out there. And then there are people who just talk about Bible and they ignore the fact that God made our brain and that he designed our brain and we can work in harmony with our brain. So
Right.
I love being able to bring both together because if God is the creator of our bodies and our minds and of the entire universe, then it goes to stand that science, what we learn about in neuroscience and how the mind works and how that's being discovered by scientists, everything in there should line up with what God says in his word. And guess what? It does. So I've found that when we can discover how our brain works and we teach people this is why you're stuck, it and we can then use that as a way to bring in God's truth. So I think of brain science as the vehicle to deliver the medicine of God's truth. So when we can have both of those together, it's not that the Bible and God isn't enough to fix us or to heal us. We know that. Jesus can do anything. But it's
Right.
almost like if we had a heart condition and we went to the doctor and we just said, "Well, here's what's going on," and the doctor's like, "Here's what's going on," and we're like, "Nope, I'm just going to wait for Jesus to heal me. Like, I'm not going to listen to what you're saying. I'm not going to let you tell me how my heart works to what could help me. I'm just going to trust that God's going to fix me." Well, of course, God could fix you, but what if you could use what the knowledge was about your heart to help you become aligned with what God says? So,
And
um,
also he created the the education and the tools that help
exactly.
doctors,
Yeah.
right? So they're made, but so I always think like, and you and I are both Jordan Rayner fans, and he has the book about that we are image bearers of the
Right.
creator, right? So we are creators. So he made doctors to be able to understand our brains and help
Mm,
us create, right? So it's not like, again, I know God can do anything, but I think
sure.
sometimes like we're here to, or boots on the ground,
Yes.
we're supposed to help things along and like say,
Right.
okay, Lord, you gave us these skills as a doctor. I'm going to help people get better. Like that kind of thing, you mean?
Exactly, yeah, and so if we can equip women, I work specifically with Christian women, so if we can equip women with the understanding of how why they are stuck in this way, it doesn't because a lot of times we feel like, well, again, it's example of, I'm not loved, I don't feel loved. Well, I know God loves me, Jesus loves me, I've heard that my whole life, so why can't I just live from that? Why can't I believe it in my heart and know that I'm loved and not have to have people make me happy or stuff or circumstances? And
Right.
it's like there is some sort of thing that is programmed in your subconscious mind, which is going to overrule the logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. It's going to always overrule that. That's the survival side of our mind. And if we logically know something to be true, but that survival mind is saying, no, this is what I know I've had to learn to do to be loved, or this is what I know how love exists, then that's what it's going to keep looking for. That's what it's going to keep finding. And so what we can do is figure out, okay, well, what is that messaging? How did it get there? What do we need to let go of? What do we need to pick up? What do we need to surrender? What do we need to ask God for healing so that we can begin to accept what he's saying? And that is a process, of course. It's different for each person. But one of the greatest tools that we can use, that I use in brain science, is this idea of brain priming. So, brain priming is a specific tool that I've been trained to use as a neurocoach, where we identify what those subconscious patterns are.
Okay.
And then we create this, it's a statement that you would read twice a day, and it's what's happening when you're doing this is we read it, you do this for 64 to 67 days, and that's what the science says is about how long it takes for the mind to dismantle an old pattern and to create a new one. So what
Okay.
we're doing is we're retraining the neural network to believe what we need it to believe about who we are in Christ. And so it's
Wow. It's more like
beautiful.
affirmation. It's like an affirmation, but Christ centered.
It is, in some ways, it is an affirmation. I think of each one is so custom. And by the time we get to the brain priming stage, when I'm working with someone, either in the Christian Mindset Makeover or one on one, we have we have really identified what is that core soundtrack. And it usually comes down to how we've answered one of three questions: am I worthy? Am I loved? Or am I enough? So when we can begin to boil down all the things that we're feeling and all the crazy thoughts we're having, how did our brain answer that? Why does it make sense that it answered it that way? What is the truth about it? And that we need to pick up, and how are we going to live moving forward? So when we can get that message, it's more than just I'm good, I am loved, Jesus loves me. It is an understanding and helping the brain almost transition into that. Like, it makes sense why this happened, but I'm grateful that I get to choose a different response. Each one is custom. So it's more than, like, again, some people say, well, is that an affirmation? It is, but it's more of a very customized word for you to get that healing and for you to be able to absorb the truth that you need to hear. Some people need to hear every person needs to hear something very specific, and that's different for each person of what that could be. So I am blessed to be able to do this work with women, to have them get that light bulb on, because when that happens, you're no longer fighting with your logical mind and your subconscious mind.
Right.
The two are aligned together, and you're not trying to be confident or be courageous. You know that you can be those things, because on a subconscious level, your brain is like, yeah, this is where we're at, because that subconscious mind doesn't have a right or wrong moral kind of side. It's just doing what it's been told to do. It's doing what it's been programmed in there. So all that's to say that using these two together is so powerful and so effective. And you just see the chains starting to come off people as they begin to go through this process, and the confidence that comes forward. Then from that place, then we can go, okay, now that we've reset your mind in these areas, now we can begin to build in boundaries, and we're much more able to say, you know what, I really don't need that person's approval anymore. You know what, I really can say I don't have to serve in every part of church that is asking me to serve, or whatever the things are. And then when the lies start to come in, because it's not like we fix it and then like nothing ever happens again. But when that starts to happen, we now have a mind that is unified in all of the areas, and it can go, oh wow, no, that's a lie, and I know what to do with that. And so it's just such a freeing process. I think it's something that every person needs to be able to address, especially if they feel stuck in these patterns. And so I'm grateful that I get to do that with women in helping them find this freedom.
So cool. Wow. It's like you took my book to the next level. Like
Oh, wow. Well,
that's
I mean, again, it's just a different side of
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I felt like we were so aligned. Because the whole point is like to get you to recognize those, I call them Martha moments, like that
Mm.
you realize I don't have to say yes to everything. Like
Yeah.
I actually read this book by, and I'll butcher her last name, Lisa Turnquist. I'm sure you know
Mhm. Yeah.
Turnquist.
Lisa
How do
Turnquist. Uh-huh.
you- Okay, I love her. Like I follow her. She's amazing. She's got the
Yeah.
app, and she's amazing. Um, anyways, she wrote a book called Your Best Yes,
Yeah.
and that so inspired me years ago because it's something where we can easily say yes to everything, volunteering for
Mhm.
every committee, being on every, doing other things for everybody all the time. But then all of a sudden we get so burnt out we can't even help anyone, right? And the thing in the airplane is, right, you put the mask over yourself. than your children, because if you're
Right.
not breathing, you can't help your children, you know? So I
Yeah.
think a lot of times we just think, oh, we have to keep spinning all the plates,
Mhm.
juggling all the balls and doing all this stuff. But it gets down to the point where you have to say, I think my gifting is in this area and I could focus on that. And then you can literally delegate the rest without guilt. My husband
Yes.
said that in fact, I used to take offense to this as a woman because he said, Mary, you have so many gifts that the Lord has given you. And he says, you can do so many things, but we would be in the kitchen and he goes, but this is not it. And I'm like,
Oh, like cooking, he meant?
yeah. And I was like, oh, and I would think as a woman, that was a front to me, like, oh, oh. And he
Yeah,
goes,
yeah.
no. He says, your gift is on the other side of the counter with a glass of wine to talk to me while I make it.
Yes.
And so it finally clicked in, like, oh, like, why was I fighting that? Like,
Mm,
yes, you can, make my food. I love it's so kind. And he's taught our children to do the same thing. And so,
mm.
well, we do. We all have gifts, spiritual gifts, and things that the Lord has blessed us with, and our personalities and our everything. And
Right.
we need to lean into those that we're good. And in
Mhm.
fact, have you ever read the book Strength Finders 2.0?
Yes, yes, yes.
I used to run a bunch of course, I'm that type A Martha hello my whole life. That's why I
Yeah,
wrote this journal. And I remember having everybody on my committee, like my steering
mhm,
committee, to take this test because we could find out where our strengths were.
right.
So we could literally have a balanced team, and
Oh,
the
right.
things that
Yes.
each of us didn't have, other person would have, or we knew where we need to fill that gap, right?
Makes sense.
And
Yep.
so I think that's important. Tell me a little bit more about let me put this up here because you're so sweet. You have this course that you touched on
Yeah.
called the Christian Mindset Makeover course, where you create these custom,
Mhm.
not affirmations, but
Brain primings.
what do you
Yes.
call
Brain priming.
it? Brain pride. Oh, I love that. What made me think of something, and again, you could say no, that's not it at all. But when you're thinking about it, I was thinking of the old adage of a broken record.
Mhm.
Or when you
Yeah,
have like a skip in your record, it
yeah.
would keep going back, and I'm dating myself. We used to listen to records, and if your record was scratched,
I was
you would.
alive when we had records. I remember my 45s. That's awesome. Yeah.
But it's right. Our brains get into a
Yes.
groove where we keep going back to the same.
Exactly.
You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not.
Right.
Why try? You won't be able to do it good.
Mhm.
What the heck is wrong with us? So tell me a little bit
Mhm.
more about how you break that record,
Mm.
create a new groove, I should say.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening in the subconscious mind is that it is the subconscious mind is wonderful and that it is great at creating habits. It is great at being the supercomputer to store all of the how to's in our life. So we don't have to learn how to eat with a fork every day. We don't have to relearn how to ride a bike because we've learned it. And it's like our subconscious mind for like using your record idea. It's like oh, she's about to ride a bike. Put the little record in and we play how to do it. This is how we make it happen. The problem is of course when the subconscious mind is playing records that it learned to play, but we're like, that's not the record I want you to play anymore. And regarding those identity questions, those three questions, am I loved, am I worthy, and am I enough? Those are questions that are answered between the ages of 9 to 13 as a kid. So whether we're not usually in those places, we're not cognitively saying, I'm going to believe this about that. We're answering, our brain is answering, where do I feel like I can get that enoughness, that worth, that love? Where am I getting that? So it's happening all around us by the people we're with, the interactions we're having. And like for me, I learned that if I achieved, if I did enough, if I was liked by a boy, all of those things that made me feel worthy. That was how I felt loved. And
Right,
so I didn't end up becoming a Christian until I was 19. So that I went through a lot of years of just struggling with that. But that was the soundtrack. Even though once I did become to know Christ, that was the soundtrack in my head that I still needed to do those things. I didn't understand why I still was trying to please my parents and still trying to like keep up with the Joneses and achieve this big thing. And it still felt empty. And it was like, because even though I knew the truth, it wasn't being absorbed. So that is what we take the women through in this part of this program. The first part is the first 5 weeks. We walk them through a lot of the things that have women stuck in this area. Start with first by figuring out how have they interpreted how they see God. And a lot of us have gone through disappointments and angry things, big things that were like, why did that not work out? Or why did you let that happen? And so because of that, we first have to kind of regain that trust back with God. Even though, we would say on the outside, I love Jesus. I go to church every week. I'm in this Bible study. Like I lead other women.
Right.
Sometimes, and I would say probably 95% of the women that go through that program or that I work with, there is some sort of a thing that's caused this crack in the foundation. So even before we can start to say and put these new things in, we have to say, what happened? And what is that's causing that crack? So we work through that. Anyway, we go through several different exercises and concepts to help us figure out what's in there and why it's there. And then we use brain priming at week 5. We create that brain priming and you work one-on-one with me to create that. And then we begin the 67-day process of hearing it. We record it. So we hear it in the morning and hear it in the evening. And that's when we work in the second half of the course, which is dealing with how do I set these boundaries? How do I process an emotion? Because we're still going to have emotions. How do I process that? How do I even learn to focus on the good, which is another side of brain science we can use. So it's really powerful because as that change is happening, you just see again, like I said, you see the chains kind of coming off women and them finally able. It's like we want to jump straight to, okay, well, just tell me how to have a boundary. Tell me how to do these things. And we can talk about that. But if we haven't dealt with those things underneath, you're just going to keep repeating the cycle and you're going to keep fighting with your brain. And so it's awesome. It's powerful.
Awesome. I love that you actually have a system that you can bring women. And by the way, earlier I knocked my mic over, so I went like this.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. I know we're coming to the end of our time, and we haven't even talked about Italy, and we're going to do that. We got so into all this stuff. So I was just sharing that 2 weeks from today, I'll be on a plane to Rome.
So
And,
awesome.
it was so God orchestrated, crazy. And I literally wanted to be in Tuscany on my birthday, and my birthday is May 4th, and the itinerary just happened to be in Tuscany. Like I couldn't have planned it. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, I could have, but it's
Wow. So where you're going to Rome or are you staying in Rome? Where are you going?
well, I haven't got my final itinerary, but I have I put it somewhere down below. I have a list. Rome, Tuscany, Florence, Sorrento
Mhm.
Coast, Capri Island, all those
Mm.
lovely places. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Anyways, but I know you're having a retreat. I know, again, I was cognizant of your time that you needed to go, but you're going to be doing it. So if you are interested in learning more about Alicia, I
Mhm.
keep saying Alicia.
That's
It's
right.
oh,
That's Alicia.
okay. I thought I was pronouncing it incorrectly.
Yep.
Um, you can go to vibrantchristianliving.com. She has a podcast called The Christian Mindset Coach. If this is resonating with you at all, please go check her out. I'll put it in the show notes as well, so people can click on it easily. But you're also doing a retreat in
Yeah.
Italy,
Yes.
right about the time your new book is launching in fall, right?
Sort of. So let me share. Yes, I'm doing a retreat in Italy. It's in 2025. So it's next fall.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, that's okay. My book is coming out November 14th
okay,
and it will be there's just no way that I can be gone out of the country like a month before the book launch. So,
yeah,
but the Italy retreat is so incredible. I'm so excited. It will be 10 days in Tuscany. We are going to Florence. We're going to the Italian Riviera. We're like just doing everything like that you would do in those amazing places, going to wineries and having incredible food. We stay at a villa. I went to the same place last fall as part of an experience that I was doing it was an art sort of retreat.
okay,
But when I was there, the people who hosted this, they do this for other events like this. And I was just like, if I've ever wanted to do something like this, which I have for years, I'm like, these would be the people. And so we just began talking about it. And I love that we're going to be able to incorporate not just seeing this beautiful place, which is incredible to be there, but to include this as a time of a reset with God, to be able to see where am I in my life right now with you, God? Why does it make sense that I'm feeling some of the things I'm feeling based on what happened in the past? How can I honor and celebrate that? What do I sense that you're doing right now in my life and you're bringing to my attention? And where are you taking me? And so we will have sessions as part of that to work through those sorts of things. So it's really a chance to have this deep breath
Yeah.
of experiencing the gift of this beautiful country and all the incredible food, and this time alone with Jesus and with other sisters in Christ who are going to be full of the Spirit and encouraging each other. So yeah, that is in September of 2025. And yeah,
Okay.
if you go to the main site, you can see there's a little on the one of the tabs says Italy. You can click on that. And we are about half full, but we do have room. So if you're interested in coming, all you have to do is put down a deposit. You don't have to pay the full amount because it's an all-inclusive trip except for the flights. But you can put that deposit down and you don't have to pay till 90 days before. So that gives you lots of time to save up for the trip itself.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we are now over time. So we're going to end the call because, or end the show or whatever we're calling it.
Italian blessings, Di says. Yes, I know. I'm
Cool.
curious, Di, have you gone to Italy? Have you ever been there?
It is on her dream list to go. And so I have to tell her all about it when I get back, as I will tell you. Just know I'll be blowing up my feed with all these awesome Italian pictures. I'm just
It's
so excited.
incredible.
So
Yes,
thank
yes,
you,
it's
Di.
so
I
beautiful
appreciate
there.
that. So, all right. So thank you for being my inaugural guest on the new live stream podcast. And I'm absolutely thrilled for you, your upcoming book, your upcoming retreat. And I'm so happy to get to know you better because I think that you're just a blessing to the women out there that are
Mhm.
just really needing to um, figure out themselves and how their relation is. And I think that that is just such a blessing. Oh my goodness. My
Mm.
sister said, I sent my daughter to study. I've seen it a ton online, but I've only flown to Israel, which is on my bucket.
Mm.
So
Yes.
yeah, so many
Well,
places.
yeah, you should go sometime. It's a great place. It's a
Yeah,
great place.
maybe
Absolutely.
I'm praying for the war to be over soon. So
Yes.
then we
Yes.
can go. So that'll be good. All right. Well, let's end the show. So thank you again, Alicia. I really appreciate your time.
Thank
Many
you.
blessings on what you're doing, and I think you're amazing and brilliant. That's why you're on another brilliant.
Yay. Well, thank you. Likewise.
All right. So we'll end now, and we'll see you guys next week. Have
Sounds
a
good.
blessed day, and
Thank
be brilliant in all you do.